Hey, what's happening? Shalom, blessings, and love, my people. You already know who it is. It's your boy Daquan, and we'd like to welcome you to Kingdom Corner Podcast. And on the other side, of course, is Sis. Go ahead and say what's up to the people real quick.
So,
Okay.
before we even went live, he just did the most. So that we're just laughing from something that happened prior to us coming on here. Yeah, just hey, beautiful people, everyone that's tuning in. Hello, everyone. I'm La Juanita. Nice to see you guys again.
Oh man, this was gonna be a fun one. I could already tell. I could
Man.
already tell. But again, welcome to Kingdom Corner Podcast. We really appreciate you guys jumping in and participating in today's episode. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it, man, because this
Let's
one's gonna be a
go.
good one. So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
what we're talking about today, I thought it was an interesting topic, talking about love at first sight. Love at first
Ooh.
sight, man, and we've heard this phrase, and for many of us who are watching, I'm pretty sure have heard it at least once or twice, either in person or on a movie or entertainment, maybe in a song, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But we've heard this phrase before, and I thought it was interesting because I sat back and I thought about it, and I go, "Love at first sight." That's something to be explored.
It is.
That is something to be explored because I need to know. I got questions.
Well,
I got questions because I've heard some people say this, and you ever have you ever have let's just go with regard don't worry about the gender. You have one person and then another person, and then the person number one is an attractive person, but person number two ain't that attractive. And then person number one was like, yeah, it was love at first sight. And I'm going, was it really? How? How is it?
Everybody
I ain't
needs
listen.
love.
I ain't
Everybody.
passing judgment on nobody. It's some people just
Some people you do look out and be like, somebody loves you.
some people you got to double take. Like,
Y'all pray for us. Pray for us. This is just.
really?
But we're just being odd. Listen, we've all had those moments where we would see and we hear the stories and we're like, somebody loves you. Wow. There is love for
Listen,
everybody, no matter
listen,
what you look
listen.
like.
But it's either it's the truth or the person that was interviewed is straight lying. They lying through
I
their
mean,
teeth.
I mean, I
Straight line.
mean,
Ain't no way. But anyway, let's get to it.
beauty's
Let's
only
get to
skin
it.
deep. Yeah, yeah,
Some people's skin be deep though. I'm trying to tell you, look,
yeah.
they got that turtle skin sometimes. I'm
Listen,
like, how you love Pat?
listen,
I,
listen.
I ain't
Come on,
I ain't
come
talking about
on, come on
nobody.
with the
I ain't
episode.
talking about no I ain't said no names. I ain't talking about nobody.
We
But
not
anyway,
all
love at
love.
first love at first sight. Here on Kingdom Corner Podcast, we're definitely going to dive into it. We're going to get into it, hopefully share some stuff that will enlighten you and encourage you and all that good stuff. So I thought it was
Yes,
interesting. But here's the
very
thing.
much.
When we're talking about love at first sight, the operative word there is love.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gotta figure out or dive into what does love mean, um, at the operation, if you will, or the action of the word love. What does that even really mean? So I believe we have a biblical understanding of what love means. We can look at that through John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. We can see that from a biblical standpoint. I wanted to take it from a somewhat of a different angle for a second. And there was an article that I went to,
Mm-hmm.
and the name of the article was, I think it was entitled When Sparks Fly. And here's something that I saw. I thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Sternberg's, I don't know who that is, but Robert Sternberg's
Mm-hmm.
triangular theory of love. Again, it's just a theory. It could be used as a good method to measure the type of love you're experiencing. And
Right.
it says Sternberg's theory proposes all relationships are fundamentally based on varying amounts of three key components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. So if we go by that metric, and begin to measure what love looks like at those three key components, is it possible that you could be experiencing those three things at that moment? Again, love at first sight. Do you experience intimacy, passion, and commitment in that moment? What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Um, I'm like, yeah, no.
What? You're like,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I have heard stories where people say that they seen somebody and immediately fell in love, and it was not. It's just having a conversation with them. It wasn't just their outward beauty, but it was more so they were attracted to the conversation, the mindset, and just hanging around that person. They was like, man, I'm in love. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? What are you in love with? You
Yeah.
know, I'm in love with the conversation. I'm in love with their mind. I'm in love with the fact that they love Christ. Like,
Hmm.
they are really pulling on my heart right about now. And I've heard some successful stories from it. So, I would say I do. I do believe in love at first sight. But then I
Yeah.
also believe that there is lust at first sight.
Man, now look, we gonna
That's
get
gonna
into
be
that.
that
And
could be another podcast, but
listen,
I do believe
listen,
you
listen.
know.
You getting into other podcasts you ain't supposed to be sharing right now. Stop
Sorry, y'all.
it.
But I just
Li-
had to.
but here's the thing though. Here's the thing. But when you look at that, so with that scenario, right?
Right.
Love that is it if I go off of what you just said, is it really love at first sight or is that love at first meeting? You feel me?
Mm.
Because and the reason why love at first sight is such a huge thing is because a lot of times people end up, will have that immediate attraction to someone that they've never seen before, and they've just laid eyes on them, and they feel like they are like head over heels. They're totally in love, and it's like this weird drawn connection to that person, but they've never met them. Probably don't
Yeah.
even have a desire to go meet them, but they feel like they're in love. Um, I don't know. Maybe it can be both sides. It could be a little bit of both. I don't know. But I'm just looking at it and listening to what you're saying. That actually makes a whole lot more sense because if you're drawn to a person through the natural eye that they caught you or you caught them, and then you begin to talk and sit down and meet with them, then that dynamic actually increases, and that would go into the theory of love that Robert Sternberg
Mm-hmm.
actually brought up when he talks about intimacy, passion, and commitment. So those three things could come into play just based on
Yeah.
that first meeting with somebody as well. So that makes sense. Okay, so with that said, then if we're going to go with that, now we got to figure out, okay, where does this come from? When did it start? How did it start? So when did love at first sight become a thing? So we did a little bit of research for you guys, and
Yeah.
we got some an interesting article or blog from Feel Good Contacts, and this was interesting when I
Very much
saw
so.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what it says. I thought this was kind of cool. It said the idea of love at first sight originates from Greek and Roman literature, where the
Wow.
notion was accompanied by imagery of love arrows from gods Eros and Cupid. The Greek often thought the expressions as theia mania, meaning madness from the gods. And I was like, whoa.
Hmm.
So let me keep reading, and I'm gonna come back to
Yeah.
that. And then it said, here's what it said. It said it wasn't until 1598 that the expression "love at first sight" made its appearance in English literature with Christopher Marlowe's poem "Whoever Loved That Loved Not at First Sight." The title makes absolutely no sense.
It
I
doesn't.
had I had trouble trying to actually even say that just now.
Hmm.
Whoever loved that loved not at first sight. I
Whoever loved that. Whoever
Who,
loved
yeah,
that
right.
loved.
Whoever loved that loved not at first sight.
Okay, I did. I gotta dissect this one.
I
That's
you it's
one. I'm gonna have to take some time to really dissect and chew this one because I won't even touch that. I won't even touch it. I have
I don't
not.
even, I'm still trying. When I wrote it down, I was still trying to figure it out, man. If y'all in podcast land know what that means, hey, hit
Yeah.
us up, let us know, because we looking like I don't know what that means. Um,
Hmm.
but check, it says the expression was used to convey romantic attraction and has since been used across various cultures and languages. It can be used to describe an instant attraction to someone or something. Here's the last thing. Love at first sight can also be interpreted as falling in love with someone upon meeting them for the first time. So
Okay.
that will go along with what you were saying earlier,
Uh huh.
that meeting somebody for the first time, you essentially would be captivated or captured in that love at first sight.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. That's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. I love it though.
Yeah. And I think some people too, like when they like I've seen it just being around a circle of friends or people, whatever. I've seen people like just walking out and about,
Hmm.
see a stranger, and they're just like, "Oh man," and it's just by just looking at them, and they're just like, "Man." I'm like, "What are you looking at?" Is it because they're beautiful? It's like, no, it's just something
Something
about
about
them
them.
that's just like like the
It captures you.
movie. When I think about love at first sight, this is silly, but whatever. I'm thinking about the movie Twilight with what's his name?
No, that's
Yeah,
a perfect example.
with Jacob, how he was so attracted to Bella, but not knowing that it was which. Okay, so
It's kind of weird.
it is
It's
very
kind of
much.
weird,
It gives me very
but
much,
yeah,
suspicions about some things, but he was attracted to Bella because it was the seed that she was going to have that he imprinted on. Meaning, when he seen that little baby, it was like he just his future just was like she's the one. But let me let her get a little legal first. But
right.
she is the one, so I got to make sure I take care of her as a child, and therefore, when she gets old enough, then we can wed. But that's what I think about when I think about love at first sight. I always go back to that movie about with Jacob and Bella. It's just
Yeah,
weird. It's
yeah.
weird.
I
Whole
mean,
situation is weird.
yeah, yeah. For all of you Twilight fans out there, man, that is an interesting one because
Yeah,
it wasn't just Jacob. It was also what was my man name? The other cat. I don't remember his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. The one that she actually fell in love with.
Edward.
Uh, Edward. Edward.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He had this thing about her and just could not let it go, type
yeah.
thing. So, but yeah, that totally makes sense. But let me not skip over what I said earlier. Let me go back to it. Y'all thought I forgot. I ain't forget. This thing said the Greeks often thought of the expression as theomania, love at first sight. They thought of it as a theomania, meaning madness from the gods. So, in that instance, as I think about this, madness from the gods, would that fall into a a territory of lust at first sight? Like when we were talking about that
Mm,
earlier,
we was.
would would that fall into that category? Because if you look at the Greek mythology,
Mm-hmm.
um they're like Zeus and Ares and all those guys.
Right,
The idea is that they are the creators of creation, but they're not allowed to be with men
right.
on earth. But if you look at the most recent movie, and even it's a TV series now, what's his name, uh begins with a P. I don't know why I'm is leaving me. But anyway, he's the god of water. Lord, I'm losing all these names. I had it earlier. Now I can't think of it. Perseus.
Prometheus,
There it is.
Perseus.
Perseus. So Perseus is a product of the god over water coming down and linking up with his mom. And
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? But that's like a forbidden thing. So when I think about madness from the gods, like he had something that he when he saw I can't remember her name, but he saw Perseus's mom. He came
Yeah.
to her. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't the thing that was should have been done, and
Right.
that's why it's like this. I don't want to say erotica, but it's like this madness that comes over them, where it's like, man, I can't contain myself. I'm in so much love that
Mm-hmm.
I cannot contain. I cannot stay within the boundaries of being a god, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to go after this person. I have to go after this woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting,
Very
but
much so.
it is still a little borderline for me. I don't know. Still a little borderline.
I
It's
mean, it's got to be entertaining. It's gotta, it's gotta do what it's gotta do.
let it
It's
run, let it
based.
run, let it
Yeah, exactly.
run.
Exactly.
Let it run. All right.
Exactly.
So with that said, then, if love at first sight is actually a thing, regarding either love at first meeting or seeing somebody for the first time and leading into that. So now I
hmm
have to ask you this question. Give me your thoughts on this. If love at first sight is a real thing, do you believe it leads to marriage?
I again have heard some stories. I have heard some stories. Some people say they out and about meet a great guy, meet a great girl. They can,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that first impression was like, this is the one. Continue to go on dates, and it's not even years before they marry.
True.
It's
True.
within a couple of months. And the success stories, some people are still married till this day.
Right.
um they communicated, they talk to each other, to because there's going to be trials, tribulations, ups and downs in every relationship.
Yes.
But they learn to work through things, and their marriage is still going. So I do believe that love at first sight can lead to marriage, especially if you are aligned with the right person that God has ordained for you,
Yeah.
and you're doing the right things within your relationship. You're keeping other people out.
Mm.
You're not holding many secrets that would damage your relationship. And just by practicing a lot of other things, they're like, yeah, we've been together for however many years. We married in, some say 4 months, some say 6 months. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. There's still people, they found somebody, but they still haven't married yet.
Crazy.
So yeah, but to answer your question, I definitely do believe
Yeah.
love at first sight can lead to marriage.
That's an interesting take, because that is the thing about it is like, does it happen? I believe that it does. Does it happen all the time? I don't know if it happens all the time, because again, because some people, and it doesn't matter who, whether it's a male or a female, man or a woman, they
hmm
could have that love at first sight, but never take the first leap.
Oh,
Now,
and
see,
ooh, see, I think we're going into some other stuff too. So, and with that, I would say a lot of, especially in today's time. Now, I would say this. I did hear on the radio that they were just talking about statistically marriages are increasing. Remember, before there was a decline. But
okay,
the divorce rate, not marriages has increased. Well, marriages are on the rise, but
hmm,
divorce rates have decreased. Praise be to God. I've been praying for marriages.
wow,
Um, but I also would say, where was my thought going? I was going somewhere with this. Might have to come back to me. But I wanted to mention that in today's time where we're living in, it's like relationships are not as respected as they used to be. Because I think we're dealing with a lot of hurt people. And a
hmm,
lot of people are just afraid. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of what somebody's going to think of them. Well, do they really like me back? You won't know unless you go to them in a respectable way. You can't go to everybody any kind of way, because some people are just not going to receive you. But
right,
I think if you go with good intentions, the right attitude, the right tone, and the right words,
yeah,
the worst they can say is, I'm married, I'm taken, or I'm not interested.
right, yeah,
That's it. But I think that's another reason why, if somebody meets somebody at first sight and they're like, wow, that's the one, those could be some. of the reasons why they're afraid to,
Take that
approach
first
or,
leap.
yeah, make that
Yeah.
first leap.
So so with that said, then I think, just kind of leaning into the next part of this, I'd have to ask, do people believe in it anymore? So, because if that's the thing where, yeah, divorces are on a decline and marriages on an incline, does that put us in a place where people are believing in that now, or is it not so much love at first sight? People are just starting to know and understand and love people for who they are, type thing. So, just going back to that initial question, do you believe people believe in love at first sight anymore?
I think they do. I would say some people still do. I would say that. I would say some
Okay,
people still do.
still, yeah, because if it has to be something there in order for not just the attraction of it,
Right.
because this is not, I would say 8 times out of 10, this is where marriages fail, because there was such a huge attraction, which essentially means there's an infatuation and obsession, whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
lust. You're only worried about the outside of a person, what they look like, rather than who they are. On
Mm-hmm.
the inside, what it is they can offer you, and vice versa, as far as the emotional stability, the
Right.
intellectual stability, the yeah, I said intellectual, but from the heart of who you are as a person. What are your values? Do your morals line up? What are your belief systems? What is it
Yep.
that you believe and she believe, or whoever it may be? But that, I think that's something that's vitally important, and it's very possible that many people that are getting together nowadays do still believe that it was love at first sight. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
many of the people that I've met just over the last 5 years, we've come in contact with a few other families that we've grown to know, and many of the new couples that we've come in contact with have,
Mm-hmm.
some of them have said, when I first met. In fact, there was one in one marriage where the guy said, he said, man, when I first saw her, it was love at first sight. He said, I could not
See?
get her out of my mind, and I could
Mm-hmm.
not wait to be with her. I couldn't wait.
Mm-hmm.
It was so awesome. Here's the crazy part. When we heard her side of the story, she was like, when I saw him, I ain't think twice.
See? And you'll
she
have that.
she said, I didn't think twice. She says, I didn't even know he was really interested until, like, I think it was like a year later or something. Because he would come around and, he'd kind of hang out, make jokes, do Bible studies. He would ask her out for coffee, but he never really made a move. He
Mm-hmm.
was just really interested in her, but didn't want to go too far where it may, like, push her away.
Right.
So for her,
Right.
she was like, he grew to be like a really good friend, but she was like a
And,
husband. She said, at that
see?
moment, I ain't think twice about this dude.
See, and that's a good example because even like there may be somebody who's like, man, that's the one. And they're like, no, God is telling me that's the one. But then she's like, ah,
I ain't hear
ah,
the spirit tell me that.
I did not hear the Spirit of God tell me you are my husband. So I
Not at
think we
all.
have we have a lot of that going on. And then also, if that person doesn't know that you're interested,
Mm.
somebody's have to say something. You gotta
Somebody, somebody got to say something.
something gotta happen for somebody. All right, you say, hey, that's the love of my life, they're gonna be it, but they won't know that unless you open up your mouth and say
E-
something.
Exactly.
You in
Exactly.
fear, and yeah, your love of the life, your love of your life is moving on with somebody
Moving on out
else.
the way
And
because
you
you ain't said nothing.
nope.
Yes. So I think it's definitely something to where love at first sight is a thing. Um, and I think it also falls into that realm and space of somebody needing to actually act upon
Mm-hmm.
what it is that they're feeling for the other person.
Right.
And and I think so, going again, looking at this theia mania, madness from the gods, if you will. If love at first sight just has such a strong pull or such a strong attraction for one
Mm-hmm.
person to another, that pull would lead you to go to them and
Right.
be in a position of, you know what? you have got to be mine because there's no way I can live without you. At least that's from my
Mm.
perspective. When it's like love at first sight,
Yep.
it's like, man, I can't see
See,
myself with anybody
right,
else but you.
right.
I'm hoping you feel the same. Maybe in this moment you don't feel the same way, but this is how I feel about you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's going to take some time for you to come around, but I'm gonna be here because I only got eyes.
Eyes for you. You are so lame. It's so lame. I don't know how your wife deal with you.
On the
I don't know.
daily, on the
On a
daily.
daily. And
You,
y'all,
you,
his wife, I'm going to just
hey,
say this. His wife, my sister in law, is so in love with this man. And I don't understand it. Well, I
hey,
should, it's
hey, you ain't
just,
got to understand it.
he's just, he's just so.
I do what I do. Hey, listen, you remember seeing Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I remember,
You
yeah.
remember Cloudy? And then the police officer, he's like, "I got my eye on you, Flintlock Wood." And he said, "This
What?
contact is you, and my eye is my eye. I got
What?
my eye on you."
Y'all, this is what I
Good
had to
old
live
Flintlock Wood.
with. This is what I had to live with. You see,
Hey,
we got a
everything's a
podcast to
reference.
do. Come on here.
Everything's a reference, man. One-liners are you can't get away from. I'm telling you, my kids laughed at that thing forever, and randomly we would joke with each other on that. Oh man, somebody was always Flint Lockwood in my house.
See, we don't switch. Normally it's me that's the goofy one. And now
Hey,
today you the one that got all the jokes.
hey, hey, look, when you got a day off, you feel free as a bird, and all you do is just, yeah, I'm in retirement mode. This is what I do. Yeah, look
Y'all,
here.
we just
All
love to
right,
have fun. We love to have
all
fun
right.
and
Yes,
laugh.
yes, yes, yes. Let it run, let it run, let it run.
Let it run, let it
So,
run, let it
so,
run.
so, looking at that, then now I have to ask this, and that is, do we see love at first sight in the Bible?
What's with the Clint Eastwood face?
Do we see it?
I can't take you serious. I can't.
Can't take myself seriously right now. It's
Oh my
ridiculous.
gosh.
Do we do we see love at first sight in the Bible? Now, when I saw this, when I thought of this question,
Mm,
immediately I went to Genesis 2.
okay.
Genesis 2, 22 to 23. Here's what it says. It says, "Then the Lord God
It's
made a
Genesis.
woman from the rib, and
Uh-huh.
he brought her to the man," talking about Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And then at last the man exclaimed, "This one is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman because she
Woman.
was taken from man." So if you think back in the verses prior, you know, Adam was, I guess, sad or, just not necessarily himself because he looked around and he saw that there was no companion for him. And then God said, it's not good that man should be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. So he created a woman and a companion for him. And then he says, at last, like there's an exclamation there where it shows
Mm-hmm.
his excitement. And he says, this is bone of my bone. This is flesh of my flesh. I will call her woman. So when I look at that, I say, because he had never seen anything like that before. He's
Right.
seen animals. He's seen, the giraffe, the hippopotamus. He's seen the birds of the air. He's seen, the fish in the sea. He's seen every other being, creature, and
Mm-hmm.
every creature having its own companion, and
Right.
he not having his own. But when he finally does, it was like this amazement of like,
Right.
wow, you created someone for me.
Oh
And
me.
my thought, that looked like love at first sight.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Okay. I mean,
You don't see it. Just you don't see it. You don't see
you know why? I guess more so because I mean, and that could definitely be love at first sight because God had to create woman from the man. And
Hmm.
when he's seen her, he's like, man, this is totally awesome, dude. So I mean, I guess you can say that was love at first sight. And then I was thinking about trying to also think about some other stories in the Bible. We already talked about David. David, he was just anyway. But then I was also
Uh-huh.
thinking about, Samson. I know I studied what was it, Judges a while back, but I'm trying
Hmm.
to recall was Samson also love at first sight when he met Delilah? I feel like it was. I got to go back through the passage, but y'all let us know. Comment. Let us know. Was Samson and Delilah was that love at first sight with Samson? We know what
Mm.
Delilah's intentions was.
Right.
Clearly,
And that
clearly,
leads into what we were talking about before. Like for one person, it's one thing, and for another, there's a
it's
different intention
mm-hmm.
or perspective, or not even an
Yeah,
intention at all. So
right.
I could see that because if you look at it and you recall, Samson was married before, and then
Mm-hmm.
his wife and her father were both murdered,
Yeah,
and he went out and he gathered like 300 foxes and tails and just like killed everybody. Samson went on a rampage, but this was a man that was hurt and just trying to figure out how to go through life now because the person that he was
right,
supposed to spend the rest of his life with is now
right. She
gone.
gone.
And then here comes Delilah. And so, but when you look at everything that progresses from that, I guess encounter, I don't want to call it, I don't know if I call it, I guess it was a relationship for Samson, but not necessarily for her.
Mm-hmm.
But for that encounter between those two, I guess you could see because of, how much she actually got out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Because, from the question to question, from doing this and doing that, she got a lot out of Samson. And, though it was a one sided relationship, it could be viewed as love at first sight, where you're just so head over heels that you'll do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You'll do anything for that person standing in front of you.
And who else? Now I don't know if this would be considered love at first sight. Y'all may disagree. But as you were talking, I was thinking about the story with King what's his name? Xerxes and
King
Esther.
Xerxes
Yeah, and
and
Esther.
Esther.
Yeah, because when he seen her, he was like, man, this is a beauty. But his was more so on the outside. His was more physical. And we know it was still favor of God as well. But I'm wondering if that could also be,
Love at first sight.
yeah,
Interesting. Interesting indeed. Because he did favor her. No
yep,
doubt about it. Now she had to go through the ritual cleansing and all of
yeah,
that stuff before she could even be presented to the king. But she definitely had more favor with him than
versus
any
the
any
other
of
one.
his other wives.
Uh huh.
That actually makes sense. Now
Hmm.
that you say that. Interesting.
Yeah, it was just as you. I was
Interesting.
like, I know some. I'm trying to. It's some other stories where, and then what's her name? Who? How could we forget them? The most popular story in the Bible. Ruth. What name? Ruth.
Oh, Ruth
Boaz.
and Boaz.
How could we forget them? When
Oh, snap.
he
When he
seen her
saw
in the
her, he sure
field.
enough did. He said, "Hey, cuz, who that over there?
Who that you?
Who
Hey,
old
yo, bro,
girl over there?
bruh, yo, bruh. Like, I know you see me, see her. Like, who that is?
Who that? Who that
Where's
over
she
there?"
from? What look? What pasture she come from? What land does she come from? Who? What was they saying back then? What clan she comes
Yeah,
from?
what tribe she
What
belonged to?
tribe she
He
belonged
sure
to?
did. He said, "Who is that over there?"
I like
And
that
and
right
and
there.
he gave her, and because so it's amazing that when you see these different stories and these different scenarios,
Yep.
you see that when there is love at first sight, that there's favor that comes
Yeah.
from that person to the other person.
Yep.
And so long as that love is receptive, it creates
Mm.
a huge and great God given dynamic where these
Yep.
two people end up falling in love and coming together and
Yep.
creating a union. And that can be an awesome thing. But again, when you look at it, you look at those that are walking in the favor of the Most High, that
Mm.
is where that becomes a complete story or complete union with them two coming together. So man, that's another good one.
Yeah, they were coming to me. I was like, I know some. How could I forget? Because we're always asking, especially us women, where is my Boaz? I
Where
don't want
is
none of his cousins. Where is he? But Ruth, she was in the right place at the right. She was in the field, and so you hear some people say, you need to be in the field so you can be found. You
mm-hmm.
need to be in the field. And then as I was reading, and I know we're kind of going off a little, but even as I was reading, once he found out, got some information about her, he protected her. He already made claim to her, like,
Sure did.
I got
Sure
you.
did.
My people got you. You ain't gotta worry about
Don't even
nothing.
worry about that. And
You ain't gotta
then
worry
and
about
then
nothing.
even for her, for Ruth,
Mm-hmm.
she ended up in the favor of her mother-in-law and said,
Naomi.
hey, here's what I need you to do. Gave her some wisdom and some guidance on how to um he already had an eye for her, but there were some things that she needed to do
Yep.
to get into even greater or even better favor with both
Mm-hmm.
Boaz. And so two things to take away from that, looking at, love at first sight. Number one, being in the field. Now, what was Ruth doing while she was in the field? She was doing she wasn't just gathering and gleaning for herself. She was living
Nope.
with her mother-in-law. And so
Mm-hmm.
she was doing what was necessary to help someone else and not just
Mm-hmm.
herself. So yeah, again, the field is not us telling you go out to the club, because the club is totally selfish. That is not the field you need to be at. You ain't gleaning from the club. Stop it. That is not the gleaning field. You feel me? You need to be out working. Now, what does your work look like? You gotta understand what season you're in. What does that work look like where you could be in a
Mm-hmm.
position to be noticed by your
Mm-hmm.
Boaz? So I would agree with that. And then having someone of godly conscience or of godly wisdom to
Yep.
direct you in the path, and understanding this too, because moms had this great intuition. Hey, that's the one. Or listen, little dude over there,
That
stay
ain't
away from
him.
him.
That ain't the
That ain't
one. That
that
ain't the
ain't the
one.
one.
That ain't the
He
one.
does not have your best interest at heart. He is seeing you on the outside. He's not
Mm-hmm.
looking for who you could potentially be for him on the inside. What
He
is
see
that?
all of that fineness.
And that's all he can see. So that
Mm-hmm.
is so interesting, man. But man, this is so good. So yeah, again, if you got any other comments or stories or things about it, shoot us definitely some comments. Put them in the comment section. We would definitely love to read them and hear about them. Talking about love at first sight. This was definitely an interesting topic
Yeah.
to dig
I think it
into.
needs to be a part two. I think there
Ooh.
needs to be a part two. We just talk about looking but nub in all the wrong places. Looking but nub.
Looking for the love in the wrong places. But you know what? We may get in the kitchen, cook something up, come back with a part two. You never know. Just stay with us.
Stay with
And
us, y'all.
with that said, for now, we're gonna have to go ahead and exit from this here episode
This
because we
is
have come to the
my
end of our time.
exodus.
But this
This
one,
is my
you are
exodus.
insane. This was definitely one for the books. Totally, totally fun. I hope that we were able to share something with you guys that
Yes.
you can take with you. Just a normal conversation. Again, this was something that we were like, hey, let's explore this. Where does this
Yes.
come from? What does it look like? And how can we share this with everybody else that may
Yeah.
not have thought about it, or maybe they did think about it and just never dug into it even more. So
Yep.
but this was totally, totally fun. But of course, before we exit, sis, go ahead and give the people just a little bit of our sponsor from Kingdom Clothes.
Hi guys. So this is actually now mine's, sometimes the owner got to get a little customization.
Do
This is
what you do.
not on the website. However, if you would like, you can there's emails or how to get in contact with us. If you say, "Hey, I like that, maybe in black," let me know. I do a little customization. But we do have dad hats available. There's some spring dad hats available as well. I'm close to releasing the next spring collection. So stay tuned. KingdomClothes.com, KLOTHEZ.com. Back to you, sir.
All right. Well, once again, love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody that has been watching, all the support, all of the love, and all of the
Thank
feedback
you
from everyone that
guys.
has seen the podcast. This has been
Thank you.
a great adventure for us. I know we
Yes.
haven't been necessarily releasing on time, but understand this, we're doing our very, very best to make sure that we bring you the content at least on a weekly basis for now. So
Right.
just bear with us, man, because when it pops up, I'm sure you guys are watching, and we totally, totally appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
and
we
y'all
hope
just bear with us too. Not to interrupt, but just bear with us because right now, this is our first time actually doing some live, video. So there's gonna the more we learn, the better things the visuals will get. So y'all just pray
it's
with
it's
us and
gonna
bear with
it's gonna
us.
happen.
It's
God
gonna
willing,
happen.
God's favor, it's gonna happen. So much love to you guys. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
Kingdom Corner
y'all.
Podcast. We hope you join us again next time where we talk about God, family, and other stuff.